Thanks for joining here in Google for Real Estate. We're here live on Clubhouse every Wednesday, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I never say that, but I should probably say that. Eastern Standard Time. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to join us, please join us live. If you have questions or want to interact, feel free to join us here. I'm Derek Bixler, born and raised in South Central Pennsylvania. Commercial and residential real estate agent since 2006, outdoor adventure sportsman, and Google marketing geek. In this room, we talk about how to dominate Google local search and get business from our Google business profiles, as well as talk about other Google tools, Google Ads, Google productivity stuff, sheets, forms, databases, notes, all the stuff. Replays are on and recordings are available on Clubhouse for a week, and then I usually delete them. And then all the replays are available via the link in the chat, or just go to my website. You can find them there somewhere. Please come up on stage if you are here live. I think I invited everybody up, but please feel free to come up. And once I get rolling, all you other mods, feel free to help me out if something needs done. Usually not much of it, but if it needs done, or you see some crap in the chat. I haven't seen any crap in my chat, unless people are deleting it and I'm not seeing it. I haven't seen any in my room, so that's nice. And if you are in a different profession, all this usually applies. I relate it to real estate typically because that's what most of us do here, but it does translate to any other local business type specifically. Like I said, all the links are in the chat for the replays and discovery call if you need me, link at the top if you need to talk to me. And also this week I put in one more reminder about Juan's YouTube webinar, I guess we're going to call it, at 1 o'clock today. That's free. And that link is in the chat. It's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, Wednesday, 11/20. So if anybody wants to get in on that, feel free to jump in on that as well. Today, we got some news. I thought nothing, and then right before the room, I started typing a few things down, and I have a bunch of things, I guess. But so some news. We'll have some Ask Me Anything if anybody has any issues or questions about anything. And then we'll do part 3, hopefully the final part, depending on the Ask Me Anything, which is fine. If people have questions and it uses up the time, that is fine. But part 3, hopefully the final part, but maybe not, who knows. And we'll be starting at Kelly Bob Bayer in Gainesville, Texas's Kelly Bob Bayer's Google business profile, and we'll be starting at his About section today, which includes his description, the website, phone number, his attributes, and some other things. So start with the news. One of the data shows, so everybody's been talking about, and it's in the news and yada yada, about Search GPT, I think they're calling it, Chat GPT's search, and it even asks you now, hey, do you want this to be your default search? Data shows that Chat GPT and search even is not taking market share away from Google in any impactful number. So even though it's in the news, it's much more anecdotal than anything else. The data shows, and Google's still making profits. That's how they make most of their money, is search ads and people going to search, and there hasn't been any problem there. And data shows that people are still going there. So a lot of what people are talking about is more anecdotal, and it's the buzz thing to talk about right now. And I'm kind of a proponent of Google, but I don't really care where it is. Wherever people are searching is where we're going to go try to be, which is why I've been talking more about Apple Business Connect and Bing Places, because if you want to be on ChatGPT, my next note here is, well, it goes along with that. Google still, data shows that they still have market share. All the search traffic really isn't putting a dent in it at all up until now. Maybe it will in the future, but right now it doesn't seem to be, especially in local search. So on the local search side of it, ChatGPT pulls mainly from Bing, as I understand it. So if you want to be listed with chat, if you want ChatGPT to mention you when somebody says who's the best realtor in, or who's a realtor near me on ChatGPT, and we should test this at some point and see if this is true. I haven't tested this, but I know it pulls mainly from Bing. So if you want to be on ChatGPT as a business, it would make sense that you should have your business on Bing Places, which is something that I'm doing with all my managed clients now, and starting to put a lot more emphasis on Bing Places and Apple Business Connect also, because Apple is increasingly closing their ecosystem to Google and other resources and trying to build all their own resources like Google. Google has all the things. Apple wants to have all the things right in its own ecosystem and then use your data and sell you ads within their own ecosystem. ChatGPT not really taking market share. And when I say ChatGPT, that kind of means all the AI different searches. People mention Perplexity a lot. That is one of the bigger ones that I hear a lot more when people are referencing these things. But still, data shows that it's really not putting a dent in it. And a lot of those other tools pull from Google. So you could argue that Google is still the source or whatever. But ChatGPT specifically, another reason we need to be on Bing Places because we need to be there anyway. Plus, if you're going to be mentioned when people ask ChatGPT who's the best real estate agent in, I would assume, and we need to test this for sure, somebody that has paid uh, ChatGPT. I'd like to do this test
I
and
was gonna
see what
say,
it comes up with.
Derek, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I
Go
think
ahead.
about a year ago, I saw someone had me set up my Bing. I never went on it again, so I'm curious if I did set up Bing Places. I'll have to go check. And I do have I'm terrible with ChatGPT, but that $20 a month one, which I guess that's the paid one you're speaking of. So I'm curious
Yeah.
if I do have that Bing set up correctly, which you're speaking of, and someone, say ChatGPT gets bigger, that you're saying basically I would pop up on there on Bing.
That would be my guess. You could test it right now. I don't even know what it. I never even play with. I admittedly am not an AI person that uses it. I definitely don't pay for it, so I barely use it. But if you ask, and now is probably the time that I need to start because it's being more inserted into the search world. But if you asked it, like I definitely have a Bing place. Mine's not verified right now though, so mine would be I think Pittsburgh. I know Krista has one and it's verified. Lisa Williams also, but Krista Lorenzo ask if you ask ChatGPT for a Pittsburgh realtor, I wonder if she would be in the mix and if you could tell if it was pulling from Bing places because I'm pretty sure that's where it would be pulling from. And a side note, and that's kind of a good marketing thing for me or any agency is, hey, you want to be in there when ChatGPT answers blank near me? You need to get my service so I can get you on there. And really, it's just putting people on Bing places so they show up. A side note to that, when you see that marketing thing about you need to be on voice, Alexa's not going to bring up your name when you ask it, or Siri, or the voice searches, or Google Assistant. The way to be on those things is the Google business profile, the Bing places, having all the business profiles so that when all these things search, wherever they search, you are listed in those resources. So there is no separate like voice search database that you need to be on. All that's a bunch of hogwash. It just all comes down to your main profiles being set up everywhere. So that first piece of news, Search GPT, not really taking market share. However, that could change. And that's the reason Google is racing. Like another piece of my news here is about their AI uh, kind of taking over on Google. If you ask Google an informational question now, it's in their words, doing the Googling for you. It gives you a chat GPT like answer. There's links everywhere where you can click to go to the actual source. Below that summary, the AI overview, they call it, there are videos and the actual articles and other articles and ads. That's how they're making money. They've even tested putting ads right in, kind of inserted within the AI overview. But that's Google's doing it too. So it's not like Google is ignoring AI. It is inserting it heavily. Like any search now, pretty much, especially on my phone. Um, if it's informational, it's giving me I don't have to click on it. It's giving me all the answer right there. And if I want to see the source, it's very clear to click on it and go see the source or read more or whatever. Um, so yeah, but Google Bing Places, I would definitely make sure you're on that. So if the ChatGPT or anything else that pulls from Bing, you want to be included in that. Uh, Google conversational search is being tested. I saw so on search, really just the way search is now, and you can click the microphone and ask Google a question, and then it'll give you an AI overview. So it's already kind of doing it, but the test I saw is that you'd be able to just speak back and forth and clarify it like you would do with the Audible ChatGPT or conversating with a human. So your Google search would literally be like, tell me about this thing, and it would say stuff. And then without pushing a button or doing anything, you would just answer back, well, change it to this or do this or tell me more about that part of it. And then it would just do it. So it would be more of a conversational search back and forth to refine an answer. So that's in testing and possibly coming. Who knows? Um, all these things with Google and really with any company, they all have an end in mind of charging money for it. Google's typically an ad based monetization of things. They build tools and then sell ads on those tools. ChatGPT's model is a little bit different, but anyway, the conversational search, which would obviously be great. Really, the arms race for all these companies is what they call an agent, which is just that like all knowing, all doing one stop AI, your assistant, basically like a VA, but it's yours. And once you have that, you're probably never leaving that ecosystem because I would probably pick the Google agent, which I need to look into that. I don't think their agent is out yet, but it's definitely mentioned in all their keynotes and whatnot. But I would want a Google agent because that then it could read all my email. It has access to all my emails, all my texts, all my calendars, all my everything, and it just like instantly knows who I am, how I talk, how I do things, all my socials, the videos, the scans. So at some point, you're going to have this just assistant, an agent they call them, so that's the big arms race, and you'll never Google anything again. You'll never create anything in Canva. You'll never like you might have a Canva account, but you're at some point this AI thing is just pretty much doing all the things for you. So they're all kind of racing towards that and getting closer to that. News summaries. This piece of news has to do with specifically Google Business Profile. I noticed this, I'd say maybe 2 weeks ago. If you pull up somebody's profile, and I have Kelly Bob Bayers, the subject of our audit's profile pulled up, right underneath the photos section and the row of kind of main buttons is a summarized with AI little thing. So it basically scans, it seems like it's pretty much just summarizing the from the owner or your description. On there it says from the owner, but it's your description, I think they call it in the dashboard. It seems like it's just summarizing that. But there's this thing called Summarized with AI. On Kelly Bob Bayers, it says real estate agent assisting buyers and sellers of homes in the North Texas area, which is accurate, but it really didn't figure anything out. It didn't take much AI to figure out or just restate the description in one sentence. So I don't know that that's anything fantastic or stellar. Same thing with I was on Levi's living in Dallas, Texas, Google Business Profile, and it said summarized with AI, and it really just said real estate agent said real estate team, I think, so it knew that, but that was specifically stated in the description. Real estate team in Dallas, also having a YouTube channel and all that was accurate, but was in the description. So I don't know if that thing's worth. I could see that thing going away. It's kind of dumb and unneeded. You could just have the description there, the first sentence of the description, like they used to have. So summarized with AI on profiles, you might see that. Local services ads, Favicon has changed. I just noticed it yesterday, 2 days ago. So I don't know when it actually took effect. But the Favicon is that like when you if you typed into Google local services ads and then there's a list of websites, the little icon that's next to the website is the favicon. Or if you have a tab open on your browser and there's, it says what the website is up on the tab, but there's also a little picture there, that's a favicon. You should be setting a favicon on your website. If you have a website and it gives you a place to put your favicon, you need to put a favicon there. It's probably, might be a logo or it might be your headshot. I think I use my headshot for my real estate one. But anyway, the favicon for local services ads has changed to, I think it's the same as the Google ads one now, which is a blue A. It used to be kind of a rainbow, all the Google colors A, and now it has mostly changed to a blue A, the same as the Google Ads one, which kind of goes in line with the rumors of downsizing, or maybe it's truth, of downsizing at Google, and the local services ads department being part of the downsizing, and Google Business Profile and Google Ads both kind of picking up the slack of that department for local services ads. So kind of goes in line with local services ads being absorbed or joining Google Ads more, I guess. Um, this So I was in a webinar. This next piece of news is pretty powerful, especially for us real estate agents. And so I was in a webinar, and it was with a guy who used to work at Google in the Google Business Profile department, the Google Maps. He was working in what we do. So now he has an agency. He's been gone from Google for I don't know how long. Has to be at least a year, couple of years since he has an agency. But so they were talking about a real estate agent specifically. He was saying that you could verify at a listing. So the example that he did, he says he's done it, and it doesn't make sense, and I'll say why. So I still have questions about it. But what he said is you could have you could have a listing like in your prime neighborhood. So you might not live in your prime neighborhood that you want to farm. So you can verify at your house, but it would be perfect if you could verify and be ranking within a certain neighborhood. So if you get a listing in that neighborhood, um, you can actually verify your Google Business Profile at that listing, because he said you have a sign in the yard which shows signage. You're showing access to the place because you're letting yourself in the door. As long as you have other stuff in line, I have questions, and they didn't talk about it specifically. You're obviously not going to have a utility bill for that address. None of your well, you might have marketing materials. You got a sign sitting there, but none of your documentation is going to have that address on it. So that's where I started asking questions. And also the way he explained it sounded like when you go to verify, they ask you for the address that you want to verify at. He sounded like you put your house address where you live there, but then you do the verification video at the house in the neighborhood with that you have listed. But that doesn't make any sense because they're not going to match up. Google matches that up, and even the webinar host, who is a expert guru, whatever you want to call her, kind of had some questions, and she didn't keep probing because I don't think he had the answers to it. So I don't know if I quite buy it yet, but everybody, like, she almost stopped the webinar and blew everybody's mind, because and in mine too. We were like, what? Wait, stop, hold on. You can verify at a listing, if you're a real estate agent. Um, and he said even for then he started talking about plumbers and things. He was saying they could verify in a neighborhood if they were just at a job and they have their truck pulled up to a job and they have access to the house to walk in, and then show certain things. They could get verified a similar way. Or even a roofer who puts a sign in the yard that we did a job here could verify. But then it goes back to when you type in that address, and he didn't have a good answer that I heard for, like, you have to type in that address when you verify. And what if they don't match? Or once you verify, where are you now verified? Are you verified at that house that you did the verification video at, or you verified at the address you put in for verification? So there's some questions there I don't quite buy, but that was the big like exploding brain moment in that webinar. I think that was last Wednesday. I heard that. So that was, yeah, after last room I heard that. And there were some other good things, juicy stuff in that webinar, but that was the big thing, because if you wanted to rank in a neighborhood, you would have a Google Business Profile verified and sitting right dead center of that neighborhood. So if anybody wants to try this, nobody wants to risk their Google Business Profile hide on that probably, but I thought that was very interesting, and I'll definitely be listening to see if anybody else tries it or if I hear anything more about that, because that was a bombshell. I think she even made a short out of it on YouTube. I saw there were a million shorts in that video. When you get backstage access, somebody that worked there, especially in the department fairly recently, and answering questions and things. Um, he didn't answer my question, which was annoying, but not annoying. There were a million questions, but I would have been nice to get an answer to the question that I've had for a while that nobody seems to be able to answer well. So anyway, can you verify from a listing? Maybe we'll test that at some point, but that was a big bombshell. If you can do that, then that would be a game changer for some people. It doesn't make sense for everybody, but for some people, possibly might be awesome to do. And then last piece of news I have here, just a quick reminder for my own housekeeping that I'm removing people, and I'm going to send out an email today, I think, that I'm removing people from my local services ads and Google Business Profiles. If I don't actively manage you, I'm removing you. I still love you. I just need to clean up my stuff. And like bad stuff happening on one account can affect other accounts that that person also manages. So it's also an effort to protect my ongoing clients and active clients, yada, yada. I can always add you back later if you need something. Very easy to just add me back if we need to. So that's all I got for news. Anybody have any issues? Ask me anything, anything.
I just sent you a review, but I don't have any questions. Have a nice day.
Oh, thank you. I'll reciprocate. And I usually send a text, so you'll know I did it. And if you have a Facebook business page, I will copy and paste it there also. All right, so I will pull up Kelly Bob Bear from part 3 audit of his profile. Kelly Bob is in Gainesville, Texas. We got through his name, his reviews, his categories, um, his photos section, and then we touched on the updates a little bit, which we'll go through separately though. And now we are on to his about section. So if you were to click on somebody's about section, and I'm doing this on mobile because that's the best place to look at a profile and is the place where most people are looking at profiles. So when I click on his about section at the top, it has from the owner, quote unquote, which is, I think they call it the description in the edit profile tab in your main settings of your profile. And I'm just going to read his quick. First, I get, without even reading further, I can see something I would remove. It says Kelly Bob Bayer, a real estate associate with Remax First Realty. So I hate I hate statements like that because it's wasting space, wasting time saying something to people that they already know. That's already the name of his profile. They also don't really care. You need to say something that stands out, that talks about your unique selling proposition, that talks about how you do business, what makes you special, why they should choose you right now. They typed in realtor near me, buyer agent near me, listing agent near me, whatever they typed in, they mean to call somebody right now. Usually if they're looking at Google business profiles, they mean to call somebody right now. So the whole description should be focused around what makes you special and why they should choose you right now, and especially in the first sentence or two, because a lot of times it'll show the first sentence or two and then there's like a read more button. Most people aren't clicking the read more. So especially you want to utilize at the beginning. So that's why I said Kelly Bob Baylor, a real estate associate with Remax Realty, that's unneeded. That's like saying the house description of you'll love this 4-bed, 3-bath home in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Well, they just type that into the search bar. They know the house is there. You've just wasted a whole sentence and is lazy is why people do it. Or maybe they're having ChatGPT do it. I think it's more laziness either way. But don't waste characters and waste time and eyeball time stating things that they already know. So right there, I would definitely redo his description. The rest of it caters to clients across generations in North Texas. It's not bad to mention the place. Keyword stuffing in your description does not help you rank for those terms. That would be stupid of Google to just put a big block of text right there that here, write this and write this yourself and dictate how you rank by keyword stuffing in here. So keyword stuffing in there a bunch doesn't do anything if you still want to. We still want to keyword stuff a little bit because we still want to convert. If people are looking for homes in North Texas or whatever, you want to resonate with people. They're usually looking for realtor in or realtor near me in that place. So when they're reading all your content, you want to be mentioning places. So you still want your keywords in there. And for just superstitious reasons too. Well, what if they change the algorithm and they do start looking at the keywords in your descriptions and your review replies and your product descriptions and all those places that we can write text that don't help us? But what if they do? Or, every once in a while you see a video that says it does matter to put keywords and post updates 50 times a day about your keywords, which I don't think works, but it's still good to put keywords a little bit in all the stuff, including the description. However, you don't want to mention things that are unneeded, like I said, who it is, or even your bio. I wouldn't copy and paste your bio about you from everywhere else. This should be kind of a purposely written thing that again talks about why you're special, your unique selling proposition. In the first sentence. So if you're like military, I'm a veteran, I'm a military veteran, military all the way. That's my thing. That's my jam, my niche, hardcore. That first sentence should say that. I am a veteran who specializes in working with military and veterans and relocations, blah, blah, blah. And then further in the description, you could maybe talk about some other things and be more general or something. Um, but I would for sure be talking about the things that if you're downsizing or seniors in estates, it should be talking about that and mostly a lot in the first sentence for sure. If you speak other languages, it should be mentioning that somewhere in there. And again, at the beginning, somewhere, the first thing people are reading. I'm a military veteran, bilingual, specialized agent or whatever. So your description should talk about what makes you special, why they should choose you now. Also things like how many years, if you've been in the business for I'd say over 10, probably worth stating. So double digit years, you could put that right in there. Google usually calls that out somewhere as long as you have your opening date filled in properly. It calls that out in certain places. But if it's especially if it's like 38 years in the business, I'd be having that in the first sentence for sure. 38-year in the business veteran specializing with veteran whatever it is, bilingual, all your stuff that you specialize in should be in there somewhere. So his description, it's mostly like most people's, is a realtor there to help you through the process, put your first. So it's not terrible, and I wouldn't kill yourself trying to come up with the very perfect description. I don't think it matters all that much, but most people put zero thought into it, which his is kind of like that. If you just put a little bit of thought into it, you can come up with something that's a little bit better and will help convert more if somebody does read it. Um, then you see a little details thing under that, which has that summarized with AI thing again, which again, I could see that disappearing. Nobody needs that. I just read the description and then you're just summarizing the description. It's pretty stupid. Then you see his address. So he is using a physical address. He does have the directions button. So he's using, I'm assuming, the office address. I can't tell, or I could tell, but I'm not going to click through to check it right now. But we'll assume he is using an office address. I think it's good if your office is within your market area or your farm area where you want to rank. I would use an office and have a physical for conversion. Number one, you look more professional. You can tell people to use your Google business profile. Just Google me and click navigate, and you can come drop off the deposit or come to settlement or come to the buyer consultation or whatever. Makes you look really professional. Um, there are people that say having a physical address helps you in ranking. It's not supposed to. Not hiding your address, being a service area business, is supposed to, and from my experience, ranks the same as a physical. But for the conversion factor, I think it's important for sure. You can also show up. So usually, if you're showing a physical address, an office address, if you're doing your job, which is usually easy to dominate out of, if you're worried about competition at an address at the office, it's usually not much, maybe one or two other agents that even pay any attention, and the brokerage usually pays zero attention. So usually you can beat people as far as people at that location. But if you go in your performance tab and clicked on the directions button that tells you how many times people used your profile to get directions to that place, it typically will be way more than clients you have. There'll be like 300 directions buttons clicks in the last 6 months. Well, I haven't had 300 clients or 300 times that my clients have driven to my thing. Maybe some people, but it's usually way more. That means people are driving to your location, to that location, but using your profile instead of the other person's profile or the company profile or whatever, which is just more eyeballs. It's may or may not get you business. If it's general brokerage stuff and they don't have an agent, that's great because they might use your profile. I used to get calls at my old brokerage. People just they would ask for other people at that brokerage because I beat them and I had the brokerage in my name. It clearly said Derek Bixler Realtor, RSR Realtors, but I would get calls all the time because their Google Business profile sucked. I Nobody else had one. I dominated there, and I would just get calls all the time. And how did I did remedy that. I think I took over their Google Business profile is what I did, and then made sure I wasn't getting those calls because it was a nuisance. I ended up being like admin call taker for the business, um, and I was scared. They have rental. They property manage, and property management Google Business profiles always have bad reviews on them. So I definitely didn't want people thinking I was that. And those were a lot of the calls I got was for the property management side of it. Like, I need to talk to X person about this property because I'm having this issue. And I'm like, well, I'm not that business. You need to call the office, blah, blah, blah. Don't take it out on me, please. Um, so
Wait, Derek,
having
I
the
have a question
direction,
about
go ahead.
that really quick,
Yeah.
if you don't mind, before we get off, because two things came to my mind. So when I first, oh, and I confused them, Google Local Business, Google Service. So if I'm saying the wrong thing, sorry, but I just mean where my profile comes up with the reviews. So I probably did that like 2 years ago before this intense verification. Like there was like no verification. I just used my house. Um, because at that time I was at a cloud-based brokerage that, I mean, if I put their address, it would be 2.5 hours north. It just made no sense. For a while, like I was, because it was new, I was like ranking up top. I recently did switch brokerages to, it's like 15 minutes away. And I'm curious what your thoughts are if I were to. It is an area where there's not a dominant agent. They do have one for the office that I can see because I can always like Google the brokerage and it comes up. But my question is, would I have any problems or would it be beneficial if I did want to make my location now that brokerage, which is 15 minutes away, or is it going to give me all kinds of sorts of problems and yada, yada, yada?
Would Where would you rather rank is always the first question. Around your close to your house, like in your neighborhood, that's your main farm area, or ranking around the office would be good
Yeah,
too.
I
Because
had
15 minutes is
right.
far enough for it to matter.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that in that area, there's not, it would be an area I would like to potentially, dominate and things like that. There's not really a dominant agent. So I thought about it. And again, this is just me thinking. If I were to, would I be able to change it to that address? And then would they require me all that, like the video and all that new stuff that is going on now?
Is it an actual, like real actual
Yeah,
office?
it is.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I would assume I would go into it assuming you'd have to do the video, which is just getting you need a utility bill. That's usually the one that most people skip, and a lot of times the reason, as long as you give them all the things they want, and you have to pack it all into this, they give you 5 minutes, but really it's more like two that you need to do it under. As long as you give them all the things that they want in this video, then you should be fine. Um, but you could also, like
Would
Cindy
my
just switched
ranking
hers. Go ahead.
would my ranking go up at all? Because it was really top like back in the beginning, and now it's like it sucks where I am. It might be something I'm doing too. I'm curious if I even switched it, would it go jump back up to the top, or no, it doesn't make a difference.
It would change altogether because you'd be in a different location. So you're going to start ranking in the new location around there, not where you used to be. So if you just wanted to rank better where you already are, then that's just a matter of ongoing practices and all the things. So changing location doesn't necessarily make you rank better. It makes you rank better over there. If you're trying to rank around the office right now, you're low because you're 15 minutes away probably. And then once you're there, that raises your rank there, if that makes sense. Um, but in general, raising a rank is different than the location. Theoretically, your brownie points with Google or your rank, quote unquote, should remain the same if you just switch location, re-verify. All your brownie points would remain, so to speak, would remain the same in the new location, but your brownie points would now be compared to other profiles close to that location rather than close to the other location, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't be scared to do it as long as, I mean, you're techie, you can follow a bullet pointed thing and get the things together and show them in a video. So I wouldn't be scared to do it, especially if it's the right move. And sometimes, like Cindy, if that Google business profile has been there for a while, the agency one, and maybe there's a couple agents that maybe have them there. If Google kind of knows that an agency is there and there's a couple other agents there and they're all in good standing, sometimes when you switch to an office like that, you can get away with just a text verification. And even if at first it gives you the text or some other verification method, sometimes an email maybe too, uh, but if they do that, still be prepared that like a week later it might say, "Hey, we need you to do the video." But if you go like a couple weeks and it hasn't done something, then you'd probably be okay. So you are in a little bit better position when you're moving a location to a known physical office location, agency location, than if you were like, I moved my house and now I want to re-verify at my house. I mean, that's still easy, so to speak, if you follow the directions properly, but might be a little bit harder, um, if that makes sense.
No, that was helpful. I'll think the pros and cons. I'm thinking of doing it because it is an area that I would like to focus on. So I'll see. I'll check some stuff out, talk to you, and see if it makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, just prepare for it before you actually change the address. That's the main key, and I'm sure you have that already know that. All right. So after his address, so I think again, I think it's good to show a physical address if you can. Like I'm actually going to switch brokerages, partially because of local SEO because I care about it that much. They have a new office or a downsized office, but their new location is dead center of my market town. I'm almost dead center because I live downtown. I'm like a couple blocks from there, but then I could have a physical location, dead center of downtown. Nobody goes to that office, so I could have like my own little office there. My main go-to lender is below it in the same building. Then I can have a physical location also showing and everything and have the benefit of that. So I'm thinking about switching to a physical location, and I think if it's possible, I mean, I don't know that, I do it. As extreme as me to switch just for local SEO. There's other reasons I want to switch too, but um, if you get to choose, or you're thinking about it, or if you're the brokerage owner or the agency owner, and you're thinking where you want to open a location for local SEO purposes, you want to be located dead center according to Google, of town is where you want to be to rank best in wherever you're trying to be. So physical location, good to show, I think, if you can, but if you can't, like if your house is 30, 15 minutes even away from the office and you really want to rank, like my house is in my farm, this is where I farm, I hit these streets every day, then you should probably be located at your house in that situation. Next thing on his profile are his hours. Wednesday, two sets of hours, 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So an extra hour there at night. I don't know why, or if that's intentional, or if I don't know what's up with that, but I don't know that I would have different hours. You can have split hours like that. Like basically, he's open from 5 to 9 today, but they're closed for 2 hours from 6 to 8. But anyway, just a little bit of auditing there. The hours possibly. Rest of his hours are 5 a.m. Well, no, Thursday, Friday, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sunday, 5 a.m. to 7:30, and 9:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday, 5 to 9, Tuesday, 5 to 9. So that's a lot of different hours. I always like to keep hours a lot more uniform. And I mean, his basic hours, which look to be not 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., pretty good hours as long as somebody is actually answering the phone in those times. So there is an open closed ranking, like there's a little bit of in the ranking system. If somebody searches for something, the people that are open will be towards or at the top above the people that are closed. And it says like green open right on the profile or red closed right now. So, or it says, I think in yellow, maybe something else, but sometimes it says open soon, you'll see. So hours do matter. You want to push your hours and as early and late as possible, but you want to be answering the phone. So you don't want to do 24 hours, because Google does call businesses if you have that turned on in your dashboard, which you should, because you want Google to trust you. But if they call you with that call to verify your hours, you want somebody to actually answer in the phone and not be dinged, and then Google's changing your hours for you, and you get like a demerit in the background that you don't even know about. So you want to not have 24 hours anymore. Um, and you want to have your hours as early to as late as you will possibly answer the phone, which it looks like that's what he's doing. It's just kind of some staggered weird hours here and there. I'd probably clean it up to just have 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. every single day, unless it became a problem on some day. And then special hours. I don't see any special hours. Although I don't know if they show special hours until, I mean, well, no. Is Thanksgiving this week or next week? It's next week, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
next. And I never really like I never update my special hours because to me it's like, well, I don't know. Should I be updating my special hours? Like, I guess I'd answer the phone like, no, on Thanksgiving. I mean, you're gonna answer the phone. So,
Exactly. And it's not going to happen anyway. Easter is probably the biggest
right.
one that's like
Yeah.
an actual holiday, but if I can do an open house on Easter, I'm doing it for sure. Because everybody's at church, family members are in, people go to open houses, and they don't respect it as much as Christmas. Um, Yeah. Yeah, I would be open unless it becomes a problem for sure. Because when people Google something, again with the open closed, it's going to pick people that said, this business is for sure open today. They've said they're open today versus the business that either said they're not open or just left it in limbo. And on Google, it says that this business may or may not be open right now. That means that person didn't click yes or no to that. So I think it's super important, and it's always 60 days before they'll show up in your special hours 60 days before the holiday. So they give you a ton of time. If every like once a month you look at your special hours and just turn them all on, you're way ahead of it. But if you haven't, for Thanksgiving for sure, and Black Friday also is one in there. So you're definitely answering calls on Black Friday, I would think. Um, so I don't know that usually it would say, I'm not close enough to Thanksgiving. I think it would call it out on the profile. This business is definitely open on Thanksgiving, especially for retail. Like sometimes there are different features and bells and whistles for different types of Google business profiles. Um, so I think on retail ones, it would probably be calling that stuff out more prominently and earlier, but at some point it will be calling that out on his, or should be. His services, we talked about services last time and categories, but it mentions that again in the about section. His phone number, I can't tell where his phone goes, but the phone should go to, again, a phone number that's going to be answered every single time. Some clients, and I'm about to switch mine, I think probably to some kind of trackable number or like a bat phone, so to speak. That when that rings, that's the ad phone, that's the Google Business Profile phone, or whatever it is. So and it could be Chime or a YLOPO number or Google Voice number, or I have an extra cell phone that I got hooked up with Tello. It was the cheapest way to get a phone, and it works fine. I think it's like 7.50, $7.50 a month. That's with taxes. I think it's $5 a month with taxes. You got to have a phone, or I mean, you can get phones from them, but I had an old phone. I just hooked it up and it works fine. There's no data at that, but I just use Wi-Fi and it doesn't. I just need it to be a phone. So um, I'm probably going to switch mine to that. So whatever, point being, whatever phone number it goes to, be nice if it's trackable um, outside of Google's tracking if you had kind of a bat phone number. But whatever phone number it is, you better be answering it because it's definitely a call game. If you don't answer your phone, you'll probably never get anything from your Google business profile. Um, maybe never, but maybe not never, but it's a phone game. Like I said, once they're looking at Google business profiles, they mean to pick somebody and call them right now. So phone number, hopefully he's answering that, or a team or somebody's answering it that can convert too. If it's a call system that can't convert, or it seems like you're getting calls but you're not getting or closing that business, then maybe you or whoever's answering the phone needs to get better at it. Usually, again, people have high intent. I saw this house. I want to go look at it. I need to find an agent to take me to go. I know enough that I need a buyer's agent, my own agent. So there's this house. It's going to go quick. I need to call somebody right now. So you need to be able to answer the phone, answer questions intelligently, but I usually don't go into a lot in that meeting. It's just a conversion call. I need this thing, and my answer is, okay, that's great. The first step or the best step for most people is usually X, me to come see your house if it's a listing. Um, uh, us to have a buyer now, we have to have a buyer consultation. That's going to be with Zoom for me. So if it's going to be a new buyer, once I have a physical office, I'll give the option of going to the physical office. But if it's going to be Zoom, Google Meet, or whatever, slide deck, buyer agency presentation, and then sign that before we go anywhere. So it's right into blah blah blah, I need this thing. Okay, that's great, I can definitely help with that. First easiest step for most people, or with the buyer thing, it has to be, so by law we got to do this thing. I'll send you a link for my buyer form which asks them the questions I need to know, as well as a link to pick a time to do this. Do you have any questions? Answer questions, don't get too deep, convert it and move on to the appointment. So that's how, when you answer the phone, whether it's local services ads or an organic call or a call from wherever, they probably have high intent. When somebody calls, they have a high intent and they're ready to do the thing. So just don't mess it up. Don't go too deep or try to do too much in that first call. Or if you can, I don't know, whatever, if you're awesome and can convert it and get the listing signed over the phone or whatever. But typically it's just, yes, I can do what you need, answer questions that they have, don't bring up new questions, and make the appointment and then convert from there. But first step, answer the phone, answer the phone, answer the phone. And with local services ads, they're definitely. I'm guessing with Google Business Profile, they track that. Like they don't give you anything in the dashboard that says you answered this many calls and you left hanging this many calls. But I don't know why they wouldn't be tracking that somehow. Local services ads, they definitely are. If you don't answer your phone, then they don't. That's going to hurt your local services ads ranking because they don't want to. It hurts Google as a service. People won't trust Google because every time I go to Google and try to call a plumber, the plumbers don't answer. So I'm not going to go to Google anymore to find a plumber. So they'll demote you for sure if you never answer your phone. His website, which I won't go deep into. It looks like we are going to have part 4, probably because I'm just getting through his about section. Um, his website. So most of you, if you've been listening to me for a while, have heard me say it a bunch of times, but for those of you that haven't, or for those of you who haven't acted on it yet, your website is the least known, most impactful thing for your Google Business Profile ranking. So if your website is first an actual real website, not a link tree, not a Facebook page, not your LinkedIn profile, no, none of those kinds of things. First, step 1, it's an actual website. And step 2, it's local SEO optimized. And that could mean a lot of different things. First steps of which are pretty basic things that most anybody can do, usually even on the broker built sites. But you for sure, once you have an actual website, which he does, it looks like it's a Remax provided one, possibly in a whatever proprietary software. I don't know if they use KV Core or whatever it is, but looks like it's the broker provided one, which is fine. That's an actual website. Um, I don't see much use of the keywords. You definitely want to be using location keywords in headings in text. So on your website, SEO, keywords and mentioning keywords throughout the website and in key places like main headings and things is important. Google's definitely scanning keywords on websites and pictures and file names and all the things. On the Google Business Profile, like I said, descriptions and replies to reviews and product descriptions and all those things don't. Keyword stuffing there. Still do it a little bit, like I said, but doesn't really matter for SEO. On a website, definitely matters. So your website should be mimicking what you're trying to say on your Google Business Profile. So if I'm saying I'm a real estate agent slash realtor in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania, uh, offering sellers agent services and buying agent services, and I word them that way because that's what Google calls them in the services selection. Um, if I want to reiterate that on my Google Business Profile or on my website, I need to be saying all those things. So like my very top hero text is Carlisle and Boiling Springs, Pennsylvania real estate agent. So his hero text says, open the next chapter of your life. So I get that. People like to use taglines or these kitschy, homey feeling things or whatever. But for SEO, definitely doesn't help anything. It is better than, I will say, the standard. People usually just have their name there. So it would just say Derek Bixler, real estate agent. They are, again, they already know that. They kind of don't really care. You need to use that hero text on your website to either SEO optimize, state that place and what it is, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, real estate agent, um, or state your tagline or maybe a unique selling proposition. Um, like on my Search Bomb website, the hero text says, helping realtors, real estate agents, and real estate agencies dominate local search on Google or whatever it says. So you want to state exactly your unique selling proposition or try to SEO optimize it. Obviously, for this conversation, I'm talking SEO optimization. So that top heading is hero text, they call it on his website, which would definitely be calling out the place. And like if you didn't want to pigeonhole yourself, so me saying Carlisle, Pennsylvania, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, that's great for local SEO optimization here. But if people in Harrisburg or Lancaster or wherever, which I also serve, look at my stuff, that might turn them off from me. So me being in local SEO, I kind of go hard and just deal with whatever I lose. But if you don't want to pigeonhole yourself that much, you don't need to call out Carlisle specifically everywhere. I could just say possibly in that top South Central Pennsylvania real estate agent. Google still kind of knows where or what that is. The word Pennsylvania is still in there. Real estate agent is still in there. The word real estate is still in there. So even changing it to something like that, like a region that you serve, maybe would be good too in that hero text. And then also, and I won't go too deep on the website again, but if main headings can be changed, like a lot of times these widgets and things on these pre-built websites you can't change, but anywhere if there's main headings you can change, like his says advanced search. If that could be changed just to advanced Central Pennsylvania search, if it was my website. He's in what, North Texas or whatever. Map search, maybe it would, that instead of saying map search, it says North Texas search or Carlisle, Pennsylvania search. Then in the descriptors of all those things, probably can't change them, but you can get some keywords in the descriptors. Another place that everybody can put keywords is in your about section. So when people click the about page on your website, which is one of the most viewed pages on every website, there is usually, even with the pre-built websites, a place to paste a block of text. That text, first of all, you should fill it up with a bunch of characters and definitely be using your keywords. The place is calling out the cities that you serve, saying things like real estate agent, realtor in, services that you provide, yada, yada. You want to have that there. And then going deeper, I'll try not to go deeper. I want to, but just kind of being conscious of keyword stuffing, so to speak, and not in a terrible way. Like, don't put it in there that it's ugly and obvious you're keyword stuffing too much. But you definitely want to, like, I can look at his paragraphs and just know that if any nobody put any thought into trying to make sure keywords were in stuff. And he might not be able to change things, but I'm guessing that top text definitely can change. So just be cautious of keywords, but definitely in your, if it gives you a place, most websites, if nothing else, they give you a place to have like a site tagline, which gives you like 30 or 60 characters or something, a site title, like the main title of your website. These are all main things that Google looks at and scans very first and puts the most emphasis on for a website, all your main data. Sometimes there's like a meta description you can insert in there. You want to make sure your keywords are in there. Um, your images, any images that you put on your website, it definitely, number one, you want original images that are not stock and Google's not going to find anywhere else. And then you want all the images to have all the metadata on it. So go take pictures of houses or cityscapes or whatever in the place where you're wanting to rank. So I'm going to go take pictures in Carlisle, or for my, like, under my service areas, the tab that says Carlisle, that picture I took in Carlisle has all the metadata on it. The picture for Boiling Springs, for that button to go to the Boiling Springs page, is I took it on my phone in Boiling Springs with all the metadata on it. The one in Harrisburg, same thing. So all of them have all that metadata on it. So you want original pictures, and then you want the pictures to have all the metadata on it. Not, don't put it in Canva and do a bunch of stuff to it and then download it, and now you've lost all of it. It just says made in Canva on this date is all it says. So you want to think about that too. So his website, I don't think he's put any SEO effort into it, I'm guessing. I could be wrong, but that I would definitely look at. And a lot of times that's a ninja step, like with clients on initial optimization. I mentioned the website, get it in their head that that's important, but then nobody does it. And then that's kind of a next thing. Once you have your Google business profile humming and all those ongoing actions going, then you start diving into website, maybe a new website, maybe a forever website that you'll keep forever, even if you change brokerages, yada, yada. So his website probably, well, definitely I can see could use improvement SEO wise. And then if I keep going down, I get to his attributes, and then that'll be it for today. It's 10:04. His attributes looks like he has added most of the attributes. The attributes are those things that say like service options, online appointments, on-site appointments, check mark. Yes, they offer that. Yes, they offer that. Accessibility, wheelchair accessible entrance, wheelchair accessible parking lot. Planning, appointment required. So that one's bad, and that's a mistake I see all the time. I don't know if Google does it by default or people think they should say yes, appointment required. I'm not sure what the problem is there, but a lot of times people say under planning, in your settings, there's an attribute that says, is appointment required? You want to say no for sure. Because what we want people, they're looking for somebody to call right now. Why would we put any obstacle for like, no, you can't call me right now. We need to have an appointment to do things. No, just yes, just call me right now. So I would, if you have appointment required, yes, switch it to appointment not required. So he has it required. I would change that for sure. And I can also tell that he does not have his parking filled out. So he's using a physical address, which I'm assuming is the office address. And if it's an actual office, there should be a parking lot there or some kind of parking available. And there are new attributes as of about a month ago, maybe ish, that are for parking that ask you, is there free on site parking? Is there free on street parking? Is there paid on street parking? Is there a paid garage? Is there a free garage? Is there a free lot? Is there a paid lot? So I think there's maybe eight or so different ones it asks you to say yes or no to. So I know he is showing a physical location, which would put those attributes available on his profile, and I don't see anything talking about parking. So I definitely would be filling all those in for him. You also, important ones in your attributes, if you speak any other languages, I'm assuming he doesn't. But if you, or even anyone on your team, if the person answering the phone can say enough in the language to convert it into an appointment, or I'm going to have this other person that's fluent follow up with you to help you, then you could put in your languages, we speak Spanish, we speak Russian, whatever it is. There's I don't know, 20 or so different languages in the Google Business Profile attributes that you can select. And I for sure would select that. If you speak or you have access to a Spanish speaking or another language speaking lender and or agent, because either one could kind of get it through the transaction. Agent probably be the best one, but if you have somebody on your team or you speak other languages, for sure you want to add that because that's a big one. That's a big differentiator. That's a big anybody that, if they speak mainly Spanish and that's their first language in English. They just rather do things in Spanish, and their whole phone is set to Spanish. And when they Google things, if businesses say that they definitely speak Spanish, then why wouldn't Google put those businesses above the other ones? And why wouldn't that person pick those businesses that say this business speaks Spanish? And then in your description, in the first sentence, like I said, it says we are bilingual or we're sync language, five lingual. I think the most I have two people tied with six languages so far as the most that their team spoke. So we speak blank, 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 blank. That's definitely a unique selling proposition and a differentiator and a reason that somebody that would just, whether it's the only language they speak or not, if they would just prefer to do everything in that language, why wouldn't they choose somebody? So languages are huge. I don't see any selected. He might not, probably doesn't speak any others, but if you do, I would select those for sure. And then there are a couple other attributes in there that he may or may not have said yes or no to. Things about LGBTQ stuff, which a lot of times people just leave alone, but you could answer those if you want to. And then also ones about, is it a woman owned business or black owned, Latino owned, veteran owned? There are about 7 or 8 or so of those kind of things that you can select if you want. Again, if somebody searches for a woman owned, black owned, Spanish speaking real estate agent, those attributes are supposed to help you kind of rank, and conversion wise would definitely help you if that person was looking for that and you said all those things. However, some people like, well, I don't feel the need to call out that it's woman owned or whatever. A lot of people, that seems to be one of them. Or I don't feel like it. I don't want to say yes or no to some of these things. Then just leave them blank and don't say it. You don't need to. But any that you want, I would go through all the attributes and make sure you say yes to any that you do want to call out. and that you think might benefit you. And some of these ones, like I said, you definitely should be saying yes or no to them. One note before you go running and doing all these attributes, once you say yes or no to them, so you'll go in there, you click on it, it says, do you provide wheelchair accessible entrance? You say yes and save. Now you cannot just say nothing. You have to say yes or no. And usually it doesn't say like, this person does not offer this. It usually doesn't call out the negative things, but I have seen it do it, and sometimes it does. So I like to not call out, not say no to stuff, but definitely say yes to stuff that I want to say yes to. So before you start clicking buttons in there and just saying yes and no to every single one, think about it first and make sure you're answering those the way you really want to, because you cannot go back to saying nothing. Once you've said yes or no, you have to go in and have yes or no. Now you can put a help ticket in, you can contact Google and try to get that fixed, and they're supposed to be able to reset it for you. But like any other Google help ticket, it may or may not happen. It may take a day to happen. It may take 3 months. It may take one help ticket. It may take 5 help tickets. It may never happen. Might happen right away. So just keep that in mind before you start ticking yes or no to all those attributes at the bottom of the edit profile tab in your
That
dashboard.
happened to me. I was wondering too. I'm like, why does it say, because it says obviously English, yes. I guess I hit it by accident, and then it just says Filipino, no. I'm like, and I could never get rid of it. Like, like it just says English, yes, Filipino, no. It's like the most random thing, and I know it's not showing, but it has bothered me forever. I'm like, this is so freaking annoying.
Yeah, if you ever wanted to try, it'd be an experiment too. Just put a help ticket in, and I don't think it matters all that much, like you said, but you could maybe see if it could be reset. At some point, we can all speak all languages, because even on my phone now, I haven't tested it, and I've mentioned it before. As soon as I get in a call, I can click. There's a big button that says translate, and then I can pick from 20-ish languages. Most of the languages match up the ones on the Google Business profile, which makes sense. I'm on Android, and then I think it translates before it goes to the other person, I guess, and then gets translated back. So I could kind of talk to anybody. I don't think it would be good to not test and use it for sure, but I've thought about that. Just turn on every language and then figure it out from there, or maybe at least then you figure out which language. Like in my area, there's tons of Nepalese people. Big 40,000 is one of the biggest concentrations, I think, of people moving. Um, so I was, and I think that is in there. It might not be called, the language might not be called that, but I think that language is in the Google Business profile. So I wonder if I turned that on, or I think Nigeria maybe, or somewhere else. There's a couple, we've got pockets of different, we must, I don't know if we give, I don't know. We seem to have a lot of pockets, not anything wrong with it, whatever, but we seem to have pockets of a lot in Pennsylvania for some reason. But anyway, turn on those languages and see if maybe you identify the ones where there's a big market for it, and then go out and find the lender and the agent or whatever to feed that funnel. Or maybe you find an agent and do a whole Google Business profile and a whole thing around that language, because that could be some of those communities once you get in there, especially if there's a language barrier, or it's a community where a lot of it's like first generation, maybe second generation, but a lot of people that don't speak a lot of English. um, that could be really good. I'm always jealous of my clients who have lots of languages, or at least one or two languages. Spanish probably the most common, but all right, so that does it for his about section. And then next time, final things will be his updates and his products. And then that should do it for Kelly Bob Baylor's Google Business profile. Anybody have any questions about anything? Went a little bit long there. Any questions or anything on that? Or anything else?
Hey, Derek, appreciate you doing Kelly Bob's profile again. When you mentioned getting the bat phone, the telephone, is this a new number? So you keep it totally separate and it's just for your GMB?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's an actual physical, like a whole nother, it's a cell phone that I carry it around a lot already because I use it for certain things. but nobody ever calls it. I really never used that number. It's technically the number for Search Bomb also. I wanted a separate number for that. But yeah, I really don't use it at all. It's also my daughter's. Like if she goes to soccer practice and she needs a phone because she doesn't have her own phone yet and won't for a while, hopefully. That's her kind of phone. Um, but yeah, I want to switch it and have it more of a bat phone at the Google phone. And when that thing rings, because I get a lot of spam, that's probably the main reason is not to, because then I'm just going to get spam on that number by switching it, but at least it'll be off my regular number. Or if that phone rings, at least I know I can track it's from Google, or I know I should answer it. And on my regular phone, maybe I don't need to. So, um, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I think I've tried it before, and then it always comes back to kind of simplicity because I don't have a big, huge team or a bunch like it's easier with one phone. Just if it was simple, what would it look like? I don't know what book that's in. I feel like that's in Tim Ferriss, 40-Hour Work Week, maybe. Some book that's always sticks with me. If it was simple, what would it look like? A lot of us try to complicate things and shoehorn things into our business, but like, would it be easier if you just wrote it on a note card and put it on your desk than doing all that other stuff? Maybe that might be easier than like all this other stuff. So yeah, I always think about that when I think about complicating things. But yes, I've been thinking about it. We'll probably change it. I think if you did most numbers, not I don't think I can do it with the Tello thing, but with a Google Voice or other ones, you could have your regular cell phone ring and get text messages at that number on your regular cell phone. And like I think the YLOPO numbers and chime numbers you can have forwarded to your regular cell phone, or even round robin. I think maybe that like this phone will ring. If that doesn't answer in so many rings, then it'll call the assistant or another phone will ring or whatever. So it could get more complicated. Definitely gets more costly. I think a Google Voice. I think the going rate that I found for one of like an extra phone number, kind of similar to a Google Voice number, was around $20 a month ish. Um, and then that's when I just typed in literally cheapest cell phone you can get because I wanted a mobile phone and I wanted it. I was like, if I'm going to pay for another number, why wouldn't I just have another mobile phone number? And even adding a line to Verizon, like I don't, it's like $100 or 70. I don't even know. My cell phone bill is already crazy outrageous for some reason, and I don't understand why and never understand why. But I didn't want to add another 75 or whatever it was to that. So yeah, the Tello, it works good. You just don't have for the $5 a month. You don't have data, but if you're around Wi-Fi enough and don't really need it, doesn't matter. And you do have text, so it's phone and text, unlimited, I think. Any other questions, comments about that or anything else? If not, I'll close it out and we'll see you next week for part 4, and definitely the final part because we only have 1 or 2 things to go through of Kelly Bob Baylor in Gainesville, Texas's Google business profile. Next week, we'll go over his updates and products and what we all should be doing in our updates and products section, and see how he's doing and how we can all do better. So thanks everybody for being here, and we'll see you next week. Peace out.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you.